collection development, the way you're doing it, and
I'll let you lead
what
with
it
that.
is, what it is. You can mention how it kind of, the inception of it, how you kind of came into it or whatever, but well, we'll just kind of go from there. I can ask some questions as we go along, as I've kind of just lead a little
That's
bit.
perfect.
Ready whenever. Okay, what we wanted to talk about, I think, which is a big interest for a lot of the students especially, is the fact that you guys are Dewey-less here. And we talked about different systems of setting up libraries and ways of doing that. And the Dewey-less library is something that they're becoming familiar with through readings and other materials, but very few have seen. Very few have worked in or been a part of a library that is Dewey-less, and then therefore, I think most students think it just means it's in chaos. Can you kind of explain a little bit about how your library is set up, how you got that way, and what exactly it does look like?
Well, I will say it started with the librarian that was here before Lauren. Lauren was in the classroom at the time. And when I started here 8 years ago, the summer I was hired, they had just, and then a couple years before that, had set up the fiction by genre. So instead of the entire fiction collection being, under an F and everything alphabetized together, anybody who's ever worked in a library with kids know that these kids come to you and say, I want a mystery book. Well, to make it more friendly for the kids to find what they want, because sometimes they can be intimidated by coming in and talking to the librarian. Oh gosh. It just made it more friendly for those types of kids to break things up by way they were reading. And so she split the fiction up, and just to see how that went. And circulations went up, and the kids were very excited about it, and the teachers liked it, and it was very well received.
And who did this originally?
Her name is Amber Tongate, and she was the media specialist here when I got here, so, like we two worked together. And she has since moved on to a different school and is spreading the wealth around the county, yeah. But she started with that concept. And then the year that I got here, she came up to me and said, she's been to some conferences, she likes to go, Texas especially, she likes that one, and said, I've gotten some ideas. And actually one of our book reps also handed us a school library journal article that started talking about it. And that she'd already been thinking about it anyway to do her nonfiction, and this particular article kind of spurred her on. And she said, I think we're going to do the nonfiction. Fiction's worked out so well, let's do it. And so we spent a year kind of thinking through the process. There is a process, there is a scheme, how we wanted to categorize all of our nonfiction. And we ended up deciding, we're a school library, we service the curriculum, we service our teachers. We're going to split up the nonfiction according to the way it's used and the way teachers use it to support their curriculum. So we decided that all of our nonfiction collection would be separated by department. So arts and humanities has their own section, and everything that's taught within that department is there. Health and PE, we have an English, we have social studies, is gigantic. And then we split it down by category after that. And everybody thinks that we've just thrown Dewey out the window, when really behind the scenes, if you ever took a look at it, all we've done, a lot of the categorizing is already done through Dewey. It's still in the MARC records. If you ever wanted to find the Dewey number, all we did for the kids was take the number off that means nothing to them and put the word on. So, things about World War II don't say 940 point whatever, it says World War II.
So basically, your MARC records are going to look fairly traditional, but you have just taken the spine labels and created that, and then subcategorized them on your collection.
Basically, yes. And there was very little. Now, we did take a few things and move them out of Dewey order, but honestly, a good 85% is probably still in its traditional Dewey sections. We just, made vocabulary words for them instead of the numbers. So.
Has this made it harder for you as far as doing your cataloging?
I'd say it's maybe a little bit more time consuming because, we order from Follett and they come shelf ready, where you could take them out of the box and put them on. So we physically touch every book, putting a sticker on there to change the spine label. We go in and change the call number for all the books, but at the same time, you get to physically touch every book that comes in, and you know your collection so well because you do see every book. You have looked at it to see exactly what content is in it. You have thought through which teacher, which classes would use this, and then you put it in the section. So coming in, you know, I came into the system, it was already set up. I picked up the collection much quicker than if it had been with Dewey, because I was actually going out into the sections, seeing what the content was, and looking at the books. So it does add a little bit of time on, but I think it saves you a tremendous amount of time in the long run because you're getting to know your collection.
And we do have the benefit of a central processing house, and I know that not all counties have that. So we're touching all the in-house placement, but all the MARC records come in that way, you know, as they would traditionally.
Now, is your central processing house also helping you re-tag these as far as with
No.
the mark?
No,
We do everything
do
with
every one.
Dewey. Yeah.
we didn't want to freak them
Ditching
out.
Dewey.
They were panicked the first time they saw it. They came down to see and said, you know, in their back of their minds, they're thinking, what is this going to mean to us? Well, we made sure that it doesn't mean, you know, they're not changing how they're cataloging things. We categorize in-house when they get here.
Are you keeping the traditional Dewey call number on your mark record and creating another tag, or do you just take that off altogether?
We don't edit the MARC records
Oh,
at
you don't?
all.
Okay.
So the Dewey number is still there. What we do is we can physically go in and change the call number, and then we can add sublocations and different tags and categories that way.
So if your student goes onto your OPAC, are they going to see Dewey and your subcategory?
They'll see just Tates Creek, our version.
Your
the
version
subcat-
of it?
yeah.
Okay.
Now, if they really wanted to do some digging and we opened it up to them, they could see a MARC record. But for them,
If they wanted to see a full mark.
yeah. Which I would love to see a high school student ask for a full MARC record.
And God love them for all the teaching that's going on in the elementary and middle school. Still only 10% of kids even know what a Dewey number is. It's-
So how do you do your orientation to your students when they come into your library?
we just got done.
Well,
We actually get them up and move them around and try to get them to interact with the categories, and we'll give them just a brief demonstration. You know, kids are very intuitive when it comes to using a computer and researching things, especially when things are in keyword, because that's how they've grown up. So, you know, we do a basic demonstration about how things are laid out, and then we do a basic demonstration for ninth graders, how to look up the title of a book, and I think we did Hunger Games, you know, the classic, and kind of showed them how things are laid out and set them on gave them a couple titles of books to kind of practice on their own. But those classes will be coming back, we'll be doing research, so we train more and more on an as-needed basis. And then the benefit of having it set up this way, everything has signage, everything's labeled. The kids that just want to come in and browse nonfiction have everything laid out for them. So it's very browsable. They get to know the layout. You know, we don't have 200,000 titles to choose from, so it's very manageable in high school, and it's comfortable to them, I think.
What are you finding? What are some comments you're hearing from students, from teachers about your system, and what are you finding even as far as your reports?
the students love it. We have not had one student that I can think of who's, you know, I really wish you put those numbers.
I just wish I could look for that Dewey
Yeah.
number.
They
It's
love
never
it, and everybody wants to know our circulation numbers, and they vary every year, honestly, because the curriculum changes year to year, especially right now with the Common Core. The way teachers teach changes every year, so our circulation in nonfiction, it's usually in the ballpark, but it kind of goes up and down. What we've noticed a huge change in is how many kids are, I'm pointing towards the nonfiction library, but how many kids are actually in the stacks? How many kids are back there? We have a few very popular sections, and we can tell they're popular because they're always a mess. teen issues is one of those that, and this is kind of what Jen was getting at a minute ago. They may be scared to come ask us for a book on teen pregnancy or drug abuse or, domestic abuse, but if they know where those sections are, they find them and they can look at them that way. And, that's what we're here for, is to provide these resources for the kids. So the browsing is out of control sometimes. We see more kids in nonfiction on days than we do fiction. Some days it's the opposite, but they are definitely finding the fiction or the nonfiction books as well.
They'll pick them out, browse them, and lay them down, and we're constantly putting books away back there.
I was going to say, how does this affect your reshelving in the system?
Well, we're busy. It's one of those things we're happy to do. We a lot of times we'll scan them for usage because they've obviously been used. They may just not have been put in a backpack and taken home and brought back, but we like to see messy shelves. I mean, it drives us crazy, but at the same time, we're happy to see those because they're being
Do you
used.
find it easier, though, reshelving than you did, in this
Oh.
system as opposed to with the Dewey?
Well, actually, yes, because we've made sure that every category in the library has, our biographies are right behind us, and everything in that section has a common sticker. So really, when you're lining things up on the return cart, we sort them out by category first, and it's at a glance. Some of the stickers we've purchased, other ones we've created as needed, for different sections in the library, but we'll sort by category, and then it's alphabetical within each category by author's last name. So it goes very quickly. But once you've got everything grouped together, you want to try that? Well, it's yellow on yellow. I hope they can see it. But there's an example. So every one of our, several hundred biography books does have a biography sticker on it. Everything matches. And so we really kind of sort them on the shelf or on the return card in order, and then it just makes it really, really quick. Is that one better? Yeah.
Well,
There's an example of one that we've created, our forensics section.